As the holiday season winds down, Lifesaving South Africa has shared alarming news of a significant rise in drownings. In fact, KwaZulu-Natal experienced the highest number of fatalities, 12 drownings in that period, while the Western Cape recorded 5. For more insights, we're joined by Andrew Ingram, NSRI Drowning Prevention Manager. Andrew, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. How do we get better at this? How do we ensure that people just are aware a little bit more of their limitations, of their abilities, and of course the strength of whether it be the ocean or the pools they're in?
Good afternoon, Arabila. The NSRI has responded to 26 fatal drownings over the season up until the 10th of January, which is absolutely tragic. I think that what we need to bear in mind, the World Health Organization slogan for World Drowning Prevention Day, which is on the 25th of July. The slogan says, anybody can drown, nobody should. And I think that it's just so important to understand that there's a whole bunch of things that can happen if you don't really understand the water, or you're just not paying attention. So the NSRI prioritizes 3 things. No alcohol, don't drink alcohol when you are going to water, whether you're going to be around water or going into water or going to swim or just wading. Alcohol and water don't mix. And then the supervision of children is absolutely critical. It's really important to understand that drowning is silent. It's not like in the movies when people splash around and shout for help. Somebody who's drowning will simply quietly slip under the water. So parents and caregivers, please watch your children. If they're in the water, you should be an arm's length away. And then rip currents. For those going to the beaches in these last days of the holidays, please choose a beach where lifeguards are on duty and go into the water between the flags. Many people find rip currents very difficult to see, and the lifeguards' flags will be in a safe area and they will be watching you. So it's absolutely critical to go into the water where there's help if you need help.
I know this is often a difficult one when we start speaking about lifeguards, but should there be more of them on duty at times, particularly during the festive season? And I'm not saying that there aren't any at present. I'm just wondering whether there are enough.
Arabila, I think that there are. South African lifeguards are extremely good, amongst the best in the world. And our municipality, many of our municipalities have extremely good lifeguards at the most important beaches. If you consider the length of the South African coastline, it's absolutely impossible to have lifeguards at every beach. So obviously they're selected. And it's up to members of the public to be sensible. If it's impossible to go to a beach where there are lifeguards on duty, then understand that it's dangerous and ask locals. If locals are not going into the water there, then do the same. Don't go into the water.
Should we be increasing the amount of not just awareness, but really swimming lessons? And I know that that's not the only thing, of course, that creates the problem, because you just spoke about rip currents, and that can affect even the most proficient of swimmers. But if we increase the ability of somebody to swim, it obviously increases the chances of them not drowning. Is that something that we should be doing a whole lot more and having a lot more campaigns and a lot more awareness around certain things like that?
Arabella, absolutely, no question. Yes, definitely. So since 2006, the NSRI has been running water safety lessons, particularly in disadvantaged schools. Understanding water safety, how to keep yourself safe, how to help somebody else who is in difficulty without endangering yourself, who to call for help, how to do bystander CPR. These are basic life skills that everybody should know, and the same with survival swimming. So since 2019, the NSRI has been running survival swimming lessons, also aimed at disadvantaged schools. And this teaches children how to hold their breath, how to orientate themselves in water. So don't close your eyes, open your eyes. You know which ways to move to safety, how to float, really important, and then how to move only 5 meters through water back to safety. And I believe that these are basic life skills that all children should be given.
Yeah, and then you also have, you know, the if you look at the water, just the purity of the water sometimes as well becomes a big issue, because sometimes you go into water and not necessarily alkaline levels, but there've been issues that have been contaminated water that we've seen people swim through as well in December. All of those issues play a part as well. How do we get people to understanding those warnings and saying to them that is not perhaps the right place to then swim? Has it just become a little bit difficult to do so, or are people just not listening and following those warnings?
No, I think it's a really valid comment. Unfortunately, pollution of our water, our rivers, dams, and our ocean is particularly bad around the country at the moment. But I think that it's incumbent on people to do their own research. There are warnings put out at water that is polluted and that people shouldn't go into. And it's the same with lifeguard at beaches. So know where the pollution is, know where the lifeguards are, choose to go to beaches that are safe and unpolluted. And just listen to the warnings that are put out through programs like this, our media partners on the radio and so on. For example, we put out a warning for the full moon spring tide on Friday. For the last days of the holiday, we're busy heading into a spring tide, which will happen on Wednesday. And what that means is that there'll be a higher high tide than usual, a lower low tide than usual. And so there's more water moving between the high and the low tide, which brings on stronger currents. So it's important to know that, and then to understand that the currents are probably going to be stronger. And then again, choose a beach where lifeguards are on duty and go into the water between their flags.
I really hope we heed this warning as well then, and really help to prevent this. Andrew, appreciate your work though, and thank you as well for coming up on the show. Andrew Ingram, NSRI Drowning Prevention Manager then, talking about 25 people drowning over the festive season. We certainly want to try and prevent that.